Advice given is for general information purposes. All legal cases are different, and you should seek the advice of your own attorney before acting or making decisions. No attorney-client privilege applies to communications on this show, and no attorney-client relationship is created by calling or writing in. Attorney Rominger practices only in Pennsylvania and maintains his primary office in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Hey, welcome back. Carl Rominger here with Drew Deo, answering your legal questions, 540-0580. Hang out here on the air. Of course, don't forget you can Facebook me, Carl Rominger, on Facebook. We'll make you a friend. We've got a few on there, and working on getting a police officer here on the show so he can share some war stories with us. He just messaged me to remind me he must be listening because he's making fun of me. 540-0580 if you want to talk with us. And let's work through the talk lines here so we can open some up for folks. Eric, you want to talk about getting pulled over by the police?
Yeah, good afternoon, Carl. I'm actually calling from sunny Florida.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I live in Mechanicsburg, and I listen to your show, so I listen to you on the Internet. But I was wondering, if you get pulled over by the police, you don't have to answer any of their questions or do a field sobriety test, correct? You just have to submit to a blood test if they want you to?
Okay. Field sobriety test you don't have to do. Portable breath test you don't have to do. Official breath test, official blood test you must do.
Now, do they give you a choice if they say, well, you have to do an official breath test, not a blood test?
Yeah, here's the one that concerns me. I've heard that the Harrisburg police routinely will do this one. They'll say, we're going to take you in for a breath test. Will you agree? And the person goes, no, I'm not going to do the breath test at the roadside, and they'll deem it a refusal. I firmly believe they kind of should arrest you first and bring you in front of the machine and give you a chance. But I've seen that by the Harrisburg police before, so I'll give you an example. So if I was pulled over by the Harrisburg police and they said, well, would you take a breath test? I would look right at them and say, are you asking me to take the official breath test as required under the implied consent law, or are you asking me to take some form of portable breath test which would not be admissible in court? And,
okay, so I wouldn't have a choice between a blood test or an official breath test.
And no, they can take you for either the blood or the breath, and they get to pick it. But my concern is because you don't have to do the portable breath test. And so if an officer pulls me over and says, hey, we'd like you to blow into this portable breath test device, which by the way, I never can figure this one out. If you've been drinking, why are you blowing into the thing? In other words, people go, oh, I blew it. Well, I guess if you really thought you're under the legal limit, then you'd be okay. The flip side is you should be able to do some rough math, and if you think you're going to be over the legal limit, you probably shouldn't blow in the portable breath test. And if you're feeling buzzed, you probably definitely shouldn't even been driving in the first instance, right? But you shouldn't be blowing into the portable breath test and making the government's job any easier, because they need probable cause to arrest you. And so if you don't give them probable cause otherwise, and a lot of times for the DUI, I had one time where the police officer said to me squarely, I would not have arrested her because she passed her field sobriety test, but I asked her to take the portable breath test, and she blew a little over the legal limit. And he said, I was ready to let her go, but I figured, well, one more try here, and bam, I got me a DUI. So just some thoughts. What else you want to know?
Well, just, if I would get pulled over, not that it's happened, and if he comes up to my car, and I just hand him my driver's license, proof of insurance, the registration, and just tell him I'm not telling you where I've been or where I'm going or how much I had to drink. And then if he would pull me out of the car and say, well, I want a field sobriety test, I'll say, no, I don't want to do that.
Right.
And then, I'll just have to tell him, well, what do you want me to do, take an official breathalyzer or an official blood test?
Right. I'll agree to those. I'm not taking anything portable or roadside.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure if that was legal to do, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have a video on my Facebook, and it's also on weekendappointment.com where you can see me pulled over roadside, and I don't answer their questions. Where are you coming from? What am I going to say, a bar? I mean, and I don't want to lie. And that's the thing where people get confused. Refusing to answer the police's questions is not the same as lying to the police.
Right.
And so, where are you coming from? Officer, I'm not going to answer that because I'm invoking my right to remain silent. Well, have you been drinking tonight? Well, officer, I'm not going to answer that because I'm invoking my right to remain silent. Well, I'm going to keep asking you questions. Officer, I would like to have an attorney present before you ask me any more questions. I'll cooperate with whatever it is I must do. And then I remember the police officer orders me out of the car, and I said, "Are you ordering?" He said, "Get out of you need to get out of the car." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because you need to take a field sobriety test." And I said, "Well, I'm declining that, so I don't need to get out of the car." And he's like, "Get out of the car." So you're ordering me to get out of the car? Then I'll get out of the car. because you have to comply with that as an order. You know, so you have to be careful about that. You have to be able to get out of the car. You have to give them a driver's license. Passenger can be required to get out of the car and give a driver's license or identification. But my joke is, you know, name, rank, and serial number.
All right, okay. Well, thanks a lot.
All right, Eric.
All right, bye.
540-0580. Carl Rominger here answering legal questions. Got Drew Deo on the air here as well. Jim, you had a question.
Yes, this is Jim.
Yes.
Yes, I belong to a hunting land lease up in like Tioga County.
Okay.
And we had some people in there that were on the board that were doing some shady activity, so someone alerted the landowners to it. So then at our next meeting, they have they bring up a proposal and it gets passed through that anyone contacting the landowners will be kicked out of the land lease for anything. They must go to the board.
Right.
I don't know if that's legal to do that, like a whistleblower kind of thing or what.
Well, I don't know. I mean, clubs like this are regulated by their bylaws, right?
Right.
And you guys must have a set of bylaws that say how everything works.
Yeah, well, they just put this amendment in the bylaws at this meeting.
Right. And is it... Oh, go ahead. Was it adopted properly?
It seems that it probably halfway was, yes.
Yeah. So it's probably okay. But I mean, so what's the chief complaint? I mean, what would you want to undo?
Well, no, it was like, say like that people weren't allowed to bring other people on the land.
Right.
By the landowner, you know, under our insurances and all that there. Well, people that are on the board were bringing people on the land that weren't supposed to. So someone called the landowner and said, hey, they're not following the laws that you put to us to keep the lease.
Right.
So then the people that are on the board of directors made this law up, and it went through, and now no one can tell the landowner enough to try to keep regulation on it.
Right. So it's interesting. So it's probably time for new directors if that's the issue.
Yeah. That'd be nice to do. It seems like they have quite a bit of family members in there.
Right. Well, yeah, it's interesting. That's one problem of being a member of any kind of private club like this. Is you run into these political problems. Courts will intervene if somebody's doing something fraudulent, but they'll usually require you to move through all your normal internal processes. And frankly, you may be involved in a contract, which is essentially what this is, that gives you a little power or a little oversight.
Yeah, seems so.
So what else can I tell you?
I was on the board and I resigned from this thing because I don't want involved in, you know, if they're doing something that the landowner asks not to, then all of a sudden everyone's liable for this at the end of it.
How many acres you guys got?
About 12,000.
Okay, so it's a big tract of land.
Yeah, we allow 240 members on it.
Okay.
So it's a nice tract of land, and I'd like to keep it.
Right.
And I don't want, and what they're doing, as I'm sure if I was the landowner, I wouldn't allow tree cutting and all this stuff to go on that he specifically said not to.
But then the only other thing you could do is, I guess you can go to the membership and try to get a rallying cry here, saying we're going to lose our lease if we don't address these issues.
Yeah, I've tried that. I've looked around on that there, and it doesn't seem to be the best approach.
And at the end of the day, you may be a member of a self-destructive organization that's going to careen off the cliff, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I just hope that the next guy's charged more, and we can't. All these people can't afford it. I appreciate your time.
All right, Jim. Just some thoughts. 540-0580. Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions. Menji.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Rominger. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I just have a question about custody of my kid.
Yes.
I have an adopted son who's 10 years old, and my biological child is 2 years old. Me and my wife, we broke up, and, she moved into her mom's house, and she is living there with her boyfriend, and she's pregnant. What are the chances of me, I proposed equal legal and physical custody to her, but she would not accept that because of my obligations for child support are going to drop down. And I told her that, even with the agreement that we have right now in between her and me, I'm paying her $1,350. I'll keep on paying that. But I just cannot live over the fact where my kids are spending more time with somebody else than me. And she just will not accommodate or compromise to that fact.
Well, the short answer is you probably have a pretty good shot of equal custody as long as you live roughly close to one another.
We live about 3 miles away.
Yeah. So there's no reason to believe that you wouldn't have a strong probability of getting 50-50 custody.
Okay.
You're going to want to pursue that in the court system. What county are you in?
I'm in Lebanon County.
Lebanon County, yeah. So what would happen is you file a petition there, and they would schedule it in front of a conciliator, and that would be somebody who would sit down and try to work out an agreement, and if not, then go to a trial. I did a custody trial in Lebanon not too long ago, and the dad and mom have 50-50 custody.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, good luck.
Thank you very much.
540-0580. Carl Rominger, Drew Deo here answering your legal questions on Weekend Appointment. We'll be back in a couple minutes with Bill and Gloria. Welcome back. Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions. Drew, are you good to hang with us, or you need to get out of here, brother? Drew.
You.
Oh, did I lose you there?
Maybe briefly.
Okay. You good? Can you hang with us a little bit longer?
Yeah, I can hang.
Excellent. Bill, you're on with Carl and Drew.
Hey, Carl, this is Bill. Hey, lawyers are really scary, and then to have to go to one is really scary. And we ask all our friends, do you know a lawyer? And then, of course, none of them know a lawyer, So then you go to the Yellow Pages, and you whack that book open, and you go down through there, and that's scary to look all through those Yellow Pages to try to find somebody you don't even know. And then to get in your car and go find one, that's scary. So I just want to tell you, for everybody that's listening out there, that we really appreciate this program and appreciate you doing this for us, because it really helps cut through all the scariness, okay? Hey, I got one word for you. Keep doing what you're doing, but just do more of it.
Thank you very much, Bill. I think I lost him there, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. I didn't mean to drop you, Bill, like that. The phones. RJ must have oiled the phone. Very slippery. What didn't Dan steal? Anyhow, 540-0580. Dan, you're on the air. Dan.
Dan, yes. Good afternoon. Carl, got a question. When is it a good idea to open an LLC if you'd like to invest in rental property, as a legal firewall to protect your own home?
Yeah, it can be beneficial. Insurance is one firewall, but the LLC can create a much more powerful one in the respect that you couldn't reach it. And I'll give you an example. A lot of husbands and wives will buy property together, put both names on the deed. Well, if you only put one person's name on the deed, then you can reach it through the negligence of one. But if you have two people maintaining the property, you could reach it under the concept that you're the owners and the renters. So the LLC is a good way of doing that. What it does create, however, is an additional layer of bureaucracy. You got to have a separate tax and accounting, et cetera, of the LLC.
Okay.
And it may be a flow-through entity, but nonetheless, it does require a little bit of extra work. The other thing is you're going to want to have a really good LLC agreement, particularly if a second person is going to be involved, even a spouse, just in case there's a divorce or other things. Or you want to bring third parties in.
Where do you pursue that? Is that just something you go to a local lawyer? Or
yeah. In fact, Steve Snyder in my office routinely writes LLC agreements for folks.
Okay. All right. So if you have one property, or if you decide to start adding a few.
Yeah, and then people get into these different schemes, and I sometimes people want to have an separate LLC for each property.
Okay.
So that only one property is at play if there is a big legal liability issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes people want to have multiple LLCs. The other thing is there's separate entity tests for tax and accounting purposes. So sometimes people would have like an LLC with their brother and then a different LLC with their father.
Okay.
And that way they're separate entities as opposed to all three of them having the same LLCs together. And then they're just two identical entities for flow-through purposes.
So that's something you can set up within a month or two? Or is that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. All right, Dan.
Thank you.
540-0580. Next, Gloria.
Hi, how are you?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm doing okay, thanks. I have a case where I was in an auto accident, and they found the other party to be totally at fault.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have the battle with the insurance companies. My insurance agent is not, or the adjuster is not being very helpful. So I took the matter into my own hands to call his insurance company, and every time I call, I get a different answer. Somebody will give me a really good, oh, no problem, I see that it's all his fault, no problem. And then you call back, you get somebody else, and they're like, oh, well, we need this, and we need that. And it's just, I just feel like I'm getting a runaround.
Well, is this just over automobile or personal injury?
It was auto.
But, I mean, I'm saying, was there just for the car, or was there any actual injury?
No injuries, no.
Okay. Well, they haven't paid you out for the car yet?
For the car, yes. Well, it came to my insurance. My insurance took care of it.
So now you're trying to get your deductible back?
Well, I'm trying to get my deductible, and then I have out-of-pocket for a rental vehicle as well.
Okay.
So, I mean, for me, it didn't make sense to go to a lawyer because you're talking $1,100.
Right, and that's the problem. Right, absolutely. Sue him in small claims court. Just sue the other guy in small claims court, and then the insurance company's going to have to come along and pay the bill.
Okay. Where do I go to file a claim?
Where'd your accident happen?
It happened in, Mount Joy.
Okay, I'd go to the Mount Joy District Justice.
Okay.
And just file a civil complaint and basically say, here's my damages, and here's what I want.
Okay.
I'll get the insurance company's attention, trust me.
Okay, great.
Oh, yeah.
And I know some really good lawyers who routinely use small claims court to beat people up. So it's a valid strategy.
Okay.
All right, Gloria.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Carl Rominger and Drew Deo here answering your legal questions. Drew's one of the lawyers in my office. Of course, sometimes Rob Culling comes on with us too, or Steve Snyder, but we've got Drew today. And Tom, you have a question for me, or Drew?
I do, Carl. Hi.
Hi.
My mother died. Her estate is being finally disseminated to myself and two brothers, older brothers. And in the estate, there are two or three, one parcel of property with oil, gas, and coal rights, another interest in just the oil, gas, and coal rights, but not surface land, and then there's a third thing, too. There is by no means certainty that, like there's Marcellus gas. It's in the region. It's in regions where there are all of those things, oil, gas, and coal. But one is near a game land, is adjacent to a game land or something like that. Question is how best to, quote unquote, divvy this up, or would it be better to, amongst the three brothers, or would it be better because there's some uncertainty of whether there may be some windfall, try and create a partnership or just keep the properties?
Well, and that's an interesting question. The short answer is if nobody can agree on how to distribute the properties exactly, what a court would probably do is just have you liquidate them and go from there. On the other hand, if you guys can reach an agreement on how to create a partnership or cross connect the dots, so to speak, so that everybody would benefit from any windfall, you could do that as well. You can pretty much do anything you want by agreement. Court's going to be limited because the executor is going to say, this is what I want to do, and if you say this isn't what we want to have happen, then an auditor would be appointed, and they're going to make recommendations on how that works. But the easiest answer is selling the properties the fairest way because it turns it into cash, and everybody can just divvy it up if they can't agree.
Well, I think that in this instance, we don't want to sell the properties. I do think we'll come to an agreement. I think there won't be a problem coming to an agreement. The question, I guess, in my mind is, what is the best way for the three of us to hold them? I should have been maybe a little more... Right,
and what I would tell you guys is we just had a guy who wanted to know about an LLC. You guys might want to create, the Three Brothers LLC and hold the land in that LLC and figure out how to, then the taxes would be paid out of the LLC and the incomes and rents from the properties. Anybody living on any of these properties?
No.
Yeah, so these just be investment holdings. And the LLC agreement can include very clear language. What happens if one of you goes into bankruptcy? What happens if one of you gets divorced? What happens if blah, 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 so that you're all protected and you don't have to worry about becoming a partner with me because your brother sold me his chunk of the land, for instance. We're going to have buyout clauses and even include reasonable buyout clauses that don't require you and your other brother to lump out a lot of money right away either.
Right. And then one of the brothers, one happens to be an attorney that's not nearby, one of them could serve as kind of the administrator for the LLC.
Correct. Whichever way you'd want to do it. Or you guys could, I know of an LLC made up of three brothers that fight all the time. So their father had, in creating it originally, had created a swing vote for a lawyer who actually sits in on their meetings.
Yeah. Okay. That's very helpful. Thank you.
All right.
Take care.
Good luck with that. And congratulations, I guess, are in order. 540-0580. Hopefully they hit the big one with the Marcellus Shell, right, Shane? Yeah, he's got the thumbs up. He's got the smile. You can tell he's thinking. Anyhow, we got to go to break here. So when we get back, we'll talk with Jane and Jeff. Welcome back. Carl Rominger here with Drew Deo answering your legal questions. 540-0580. Whatever you want to know. Let's see. Who's next? Next. Jeff, you're on the air. Jeff.
Oh, hello.
Yes, that Jeff. Well, let me stop you for a second before you get your question. Let me tell you what happens on talk radio. And I'm not saying that you're not really Jeff, but I'm going to tell you a little story. A lot of times when people call in here in order to protect their own identities, they give us a fake name, which is why I believe quite often when I ask for people by name, they hesitate because it's not their real name, so it doesn't process as fast. But go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I am really Jeff, and
All
thanks for taking my call. I'll echo what the other caller said. What you do is priceless. We thank you.
Thank you.
My question is this. I have a 14-year-old daughter. My ex-wife and I are divorced. I've been a father to her. I have made it a point to see her over the years and be there for her. And in the last 2 years, number one, she's become a female teenager, which carries a certain thing with it. But also, her mother has lacked any kind of motivation to help me to see her. She says, well, she's old enough to make her own decisions. She's 14 now, but since she was about 12, she started just being less and less a part of it. And at the point I'm at now, I'm being stonewalled. I can't even see her because she says, my ex-wife says she's letting it up to my daughter, and my daughter doesn't want to see her dad right now. And I'm just wondering, legally, what kind of rights do I have, and what kind of action could I take to be able to see her?
I remember a judge in Cumberland County telling a 17-year-old girl that she was going to go spend a weekend, a month with her father, or he was going to have to...
That's the exact custody case that I just had on Friday. We had a 17-year-old who hadn't seen her biological father in years. I mean, a long time. But and whether the court's going to force visitation.
Well, that was the judge in the case I was thinking of, where he said to the 17-year-old girl, "I'm going to have the sheriff take you if you don't go."
And that's the problem. We even had a contempt filed in ours because the 17-year-old would not go to the visitations that were ordered during the conciliation. And obviously, a child's preference is given weight depending on the age and maturity of the child, but it's not obviously not the be-all, end-all factor. But as biological father, especially at 14, I mean, she's old enough. She's not 7, but her preference isn't going to completely control in that situation.
Okay. Well, her mother is allowing it to, and on top of this, she's starting to get into the thing where she wants to party all the time, and she's acting out like she's on her own, and
right. But let me ask you this, Jeff: what type of agreement are you guys operating under right now? Is it just you guys have agreed on the outside? Is there a court order?
Well, in our divorce, our divorce was a no-fault divorce. So according to what I was told by a court clerk, there's a 50-50 right to the child. And, it's an undisputed divorce. We split amiably, and everything had gone fine until just recently. So, that's the extent of the agreement. But
well, I would want to look and see what you guys did with custody. I mean, if nobody addressed it, there's a possibility you might not be operating under anything at all. But I think the short answer is, file for custody and get it into the hands of a judge or a conciliator, and then she can't. It's not entirely up to mom to shut you out at that point.
And Jeff, the other thing we've done in cases like that is gotten a a counselor involved with the child so that they're put in a therapeutic therapeutic circumstance so that if there's a real issue, the counselor can work on figuring out why it is that the child doesn't want to see you and try to help the child understand why it's in their best interest to do it.
And a lot of times that is very common for a judge to order that sort of family counseling because that is very hard on a child depending on how much contact she's had with you.
Well, over the years, she's had very consistent contact, weekly, sometimes twice a week. And I can answer the one question. I'm the parent that tells her, no, you shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
Because,
You're not Disney World.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's the problem.
And a lot of, when a child has preferences like that, the judge will oftentimes meet with the child, in camera, and they'll want to know what are the reasons that the child would prefer to be with mom. And if it's because mom lets me play video games all night and eat ice cream and I don't have to do my homework. Yeah,
of course, the problem is with a 16 or 17-year-old, a lot of times they're very sophisticated.
So they know not to provide that reason.
Right. And that's your issue. But, and the other thing is, think about this one. There are situations where if a judge decides that, and it's a seminal case in children's preference, and the kids all want to live with dad and the court sends them to mom, and the opinion basically says, well, yeah, there's a great reason why they want to live with dad. There's no parental control whatsoever.
Well, I'm the opposite. I'm the one that has the parental control.
Well, right, and that's what I mean. But they took the custody away from the party and where the kids wanted to be on that sole basis. So you may be able to use that as a lever as well. I've seen that successfully used, which is, listen here, teenager, you got two choices. One is you're going to come over and see me every other weekend and hang out and do this stuff, or I'm going to get a court order that says I'm your custodian. Which way would you prefer it?
Right. I see your point. Yeah.
And I think where should I go? Yeah, I think, give us a call this week, but we'll find out exactly if there is an agreement right now or if it's sort of just up in the air. And if it is, she essentially can give you the runaround.
Okay, who am I calling?
And then look into filing a custody petition.
You're calling 241-6070, 241-6070, or you can look us up at romingerlaw.com.
Oh, okay. All right, great.
All right, brother, take care.
I would love to get a further step on this, and it sounds like you guys have the right direction. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks. 540-0580 to call in here today. Jane, you're on the air.
Yes, hi, Carl. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I have a big problem here in Lancaster County. I'm going through a pretty nasty divorce. It's been going on for almost 3 years now.
Okay.
I've had this lawyer. I had to fire her because she wouldn't take him in for spousal support. She said it was my fault because I had gotten him out of the house. I had to get a PFA because he beat me up a couple of times before. So she wouldn't do that, so I fired her. I got another one, and then I had him for a couple months, and he actually took another job somewhere else, so I had to get another one. So I got this big law firm out of Lancaster City, and he wouldn't get any of my husband's bank records for me to prove his income and everything.
Right.
So when we had our big master's hearing in May of 2010, he wouldn't bring anything up about his income or anything. And he also, his lawyer said that they had already had his bank records. No, that was our joint records that they had. It was not his separate from when we separated, from April
right.
of 2009. Well, every time I go in front of this judge that I have down here, he denies me of putting his bank records into evidence. I went to another lawyer. He gave me a subpoena. I walked over to the courthouse. They signed it. I got his bank records. He was lying about his income. He's made thousands and thousands of dollars more than what he claimed he was making. The judge denied me from entering them because his lawyer stood there and told the judge that I got him illegally, and I had the subpoena. I'm in a real hard situation here because I was paying this lawyer to do his job. He didn't do his job. I have a hearing coming up on Tuesday because I hired another lawyer out of she's not in Lancaster City, put it that way. And she told me that she put an appeal in for this. So she's going to try to, I guess, get his bank records and everything. I don't know if she can do this. But is there a way that you can, sue Lancaster County for this master doing what he did and everything?
The short answer is, and I had this question maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, the master really works at the behest of the judge and is probably cloaked in judicial immunity or if not, a form of immunity.
I mean, because even this judge that I've been going in front of, I was told that he does not like women, and that's why he turns women down, because he went through a nasty divorce himself.
Well, yeah, but that's not that would be a ethics complaint, but that's not. There's nobody you can sue about this.
Oh, really?
All right, Jane. Sorry about that.
Thanks.
540-0580. Everybody wants to sue the judge. You can't. There's a reason why you can't sue
very
judges.
Difficult.
Almost impossible. If the judge runs you over in his car on his way to work, you can sue him for an auto accident. But if the judge just throws you in jail for any random reason whatsoever, nothing you can do about it. I mean, that's absolute judicial immunity for a reason, because we don't want them to be in fear of a lawsuit. It can be abused, but if it's abused, they can be removed administratively. And that's your remedy. Go to the judicial board and file an ethics complaint. And I'm always curious because people always assume that the judge is biased for whatever the reason. And I know that judges' experiences in their lives obviously make a huge difference in how they view the world and how they might decide certain factual issues. But we did have the one woman call in here the one day who said that the judge was biased, and when I asked her what kind of case she lost, she said, "Oh, no, the judge ruled in my favor." And I was like, well, he couldn't be that biased. Tyler, you're on with Carl and Drew. Tyler.
Yes.
What's going on?
Hey, I was just going to ask you, the other day you were talking on the Bob Durden program about how you'd like to try a case while smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
What is your favorite brand of cigar?
I want to think, was it Flor de Cuba or Double Ligeros?
Okay.
Like a Maduro. I'm with cigars like I am with beer and whiskey. I like to try lots of different ones.
And there's limited selection in the state on those as well.
Yes, I know.
So beer and cigars, yeah.
And I was most recently smoking one there's a Haynes Tobacco down in York, Pennsylvania, and the owner there is a I like to say Cuban refugee. I mean, he floated the boat, so to speak, and made it to American soil. And he's a very skilled cigar roller, and he rolls his own, and he does ones that they're almost like a stunt cigar. They're about 9 inches long and like a 60-plus ring gauge. Very good smoke, though, but he also has a series of regular cigars that he rolls that aren't quite so obnoxiously large. And those are very good cigars, and those are made locally, so those are interesting. But yeah.
Where can I get a good Honduran smoke, good Honduran blend in this area? I'm still fairly new.
You know what? Well, if you're in the area, you could go to the Tinderbox down in Lemoyne.
Oh, okay.
That's a really good cigar shop. Dave that runs. They have one of probably the largest selection in central Pennsylvania. If you're looking for a really nice, fun place to smoke a cigar, there's two in downtown Harrisburg.
Right.
Ray's Tobacco and the other one right on the corner on 2nd Street. And the name's escaping me for a second, but those guys are really nice too. And that's a fun place to just go in and hang out.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Carl.
All right. Take care.
All right, bye.
Got to go to break. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back. Answering your legal questions here on the air, WHP 580. Drew Deo.
Yo.
I guess you're going to have some work to do after this show's over.
Yeah. A lot of calls that people were going to talk to, I believe.
And of course, if anybody needs to get hold of me or Drew or any of the other lawyers in the office, and if you call in and you're looking for me, I know sometimes people they want to talk to me, and I sometimes I'm stuck in court for long periods of time. Even if you want to hire me, it wouldn't hurt to talk to one of the other lawyers on an as-needed basis, because I don't let any dummies work for us. I got a rule about that. Tom, you're on with Carl and Drew. Tom,
yeah, that's me. I want to talk about debt.
Yeah.
Is there a statute of limitations on when credit card debt can be collected?
Yeah, 4 years from when you made your last payment.
4 years from when you made a payment?
Your last payment.
Oh, okay. But if the debt is from 8 or 9 years ago or something like that?
Well, if you haven't made a payment in 8 or 9 years and the debt's 8 or 9 years old, then, but here's the sucker bet, right? Yeah. You get called up and somebody goes, hey, you have this old credit card from 6 years ago and you owe us $10,000, but we'll let you make $10 payments on it. The minute you make one payment on it, you renew or revive the debt, and then it becomes a 4-year statute again.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I say that. So, yeah, if it's from 8 or 9 years ago, then they're outside the statute of limitations.
Okay, now what they do, is sell the debt.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And what happens with that when it's actually a different person or sometimes...
Well, you see that a lot of times where there's a problem with what that's called is assignment. The debt's assigned to somebody else, but a lot of times debt is bought and sold in such large chunks that when it is sold, the company that owns it now and tries to collect on it doesn't actually have proof of assignment. I mean, they have an account number. Sometimes they don't even have that, and it's hard for them to prove that they actually are the owner of the debt. Pay them off, and how do you know that somebody else doesn't come back and say, no, that's actually our debt.
Right.
But so they do often have times proving that they own the debt, which is called assignment. And a lot of times that is a problem.
Okay, now if they do have assignment, then what happens?
Well, even then, if they have assignment,
still statute of limitations issue, still proof issue as to that you actually owe it. Although you can become the proof because you don't have a Fifth Amendment right not to testify. So, they could always say, "Hey, you owe this."
And they can file and try to collect on it.
Excuse me.
So what's your situation? You owe some money from how long ago?
It has to be like 9-10 years.
So sort of statute of limitations defense if they sue you. But on the other hand, if they haven't sued you, you may be able to dispute the ability to try to collect it still.
How do I go about doing that?
Nobody's actually sued you yet?
No.
Yeah, you could dispute it and say it's no longer a valid debt and should be written off.
You just keep receiving notices from them?
Yeah, now it went to some lawyer firm now, supposedly. I mean, I got a letter.
So it's a collection agency now is trying to collect on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, ultimately, and I do a lot of work with that, and I'd be happy to sit down and talk specifics with you. It just depends. I mean, a lot of times it's negotiated, or a lot of times if they can't, if there's a statute of limitations problem or something like that, it's just resolved. But I do a lot of work with debt collection. I'd be happy to sit down and talk with you more specifically about it. But there could be assignment problems and all sorts of problems when it's that old.
Okay.
All right, Tom. We got a couple more callers I got to run through here quick. So
okay.
It just sounds like you do have a defense. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Not a problem. 540-0580. Don, you're on the air.
Hey, how you doing, Carl?
Good.
Hey, listen, I just wanted to make a little statement about this election process.
Yeah.
The people in this country really need to wake up, because if we're going to allow this president to keep on spending the way he's spending, and they vote him in office for another 4 years, we're done as a country. I mean, basically what's going to happen is a revolution is going to start, and the people are going to be killing each other for food in this country, believe it or not. I've said it before, and it's not far from it. And I just wanted to know what your opinion is, because with the way I see it, he's just got a ticket to keep spending.
Well, let me put it to you this way. It's easy to blame Obama, and I'll blame him for a lot of things. But the Republicans spent like it was, no tomorrow as well before Obama took office. So, and the reality is the one thing everybody in all the idiots in Congress can agree on is how to spend money. So at the end of the day, we have a spending problem. The flip side is what we spend it on and how we spend it has got to be, carefully thought about. And just killing government expenditure overnight is going to have a disrupting ripple all by itself in the economy.
Right. Well, look, Obama goes on vacation for 2 weeks and spends $4 million on vacation. He has a Halloween party at the White House, another $4 million.
Yeah, I'm not even worried about that. Let's talk about Medicare and Medicaid.
Yeah.
The elephant in the room.
$4 million does not make or break our government. Okay. What makes or breaks our government is middle-class entitlements. And here's the problem. Even the WHP listeners don't want to give up their middle-class entitlements. That's the real problem.
Right.
All right, my friend.
All right. Thank you.
I mean, I sympathize. Everybody wants to blame Obama, but the reality is it's just a systemic problem with the federal government, not an Obama problem or a Bush problem for that matter. But both those guys are record spenders, and it should be remembered. Mark, call next week or call the office 241-6070 because I got to let you go. Running out of time here. But anyhow, my point is, it doesn't matter. It's ironic that the greatest two spenders in the history of the presidency were Republican and a Democrat, right? Just proves that everybody's a spender. Anyhow, folks, next week we'll be here. Go to RomingerLaw.com in the meantime to look us up. RomingerLaw.com or 241-6070. Call us at the office.